Let's face it, your job description today might be irrelevant tomorrow. In a world where AI writes code, buyers make decisions on Instagram Reels, and engineers build green buildings on tight urban plots, the only constant is talent that evolves. Welcome to Talent and Talks, the talent mindset dialogue series by the Economic Times in collaboration with LinkedIn. Here, we just don't talk HR, we talk strategy. We do decode what talent really means when industries are being reinvented in real time. Now, today's episode is obviously a fascinating one because it zooms into one of India's most complex yet exciting industries, which is real estate, a sector shaped by scale, driven by trust, and now powered by tech and talent. Now, think about this: buildings may be made of bricks and steel, but what really sets a future ready company apart? It is its people. So, who better to help us decode this than two industry leaders who are navigating this shift? We are joined in by Pallavi Kar, who is the AVP HR at Provident Housing, someone who's been at the heart of transforming workforce priorities for a fast growing world. And we also have with us Avik Roy, Regional Head India at LinkedIn Talent Solutions, whose macro lens on hiring and workforce trends can probably give us the bigger picture. Well, I won't waste much time and quickly, Avik, over to you. Please go on and let us, talk about all the insights and everything. We really want to hear it.
Pallavi, it's an honor to be here with you and learning from you what's going on at Provident and the industry. So I'm quite caked. I'm quite excited about our conversation. And to start with, my first question that I would like to know from you is that India's real estate sector is undergoing rapid transformation, driven by digital disruption, changing buyer expectation, and increased focus on sustainability. How are these shifts influencing talent priorities at Provident Housing, especially across sales, design, engineering, and customer experience functions?
You're absolutely right. Honestly, the changes are very hard to miss. The customer today is actually very, very well informed, very well connected, and definitely more demanding. And that's a good thing. And technology, I mean, it's just not disrupting. It's reshaping. It's reshaping the way we how we sell, how we build, how we even think about homes. And at Provident, that means our talent priorities are also shifting accordingly. We are now looking beyond the traditional experience. It's no longer about just what's the kind of education that you have had, but it's more about the kind of competencies that you bring in. Are you somebody who's adaptable? Do you have a customer empathy mindset? Do you have a digital first mindset? And I think that's the kind of people that we are now looking at. You spoke about sales. In sales, the kind of approach that we have now is more towards consultative selling rather than just transactional selling. Um, in design and engineering, it's about balancing speed along with sustainability. I think sustainability, if you look at all our projects, all the kind of work that we have done, sustainability is a major, major focus area for us. And in terms of customer experience, it's about building trust from day one, right? Not just solving problems when they occur. Traditionally, real estate industry has been always thought about that this is a industry people cannot trust, and that's the thing that we are working on. How do we ensure that people trust us from day one? How do we ensure that kind of transparency is there? So yes, it is a shift, but it is a necessary one, and it is a much much important one. And we are very intentional about who we hire, Avik. So it's important that we know who are we hiring, how do we want to grow them, and are they contributing to the larger picture as they are also growing with us? So there you go.
I love the way you brought trust in this because I think there was a time when this entire industry lacked trust, and that's one thing that both the industry and regulations like RERA has brought in, which is such a good thing for
Absolutely.
buyers and consumers. So
I agree.
yeah, trust is so important for any business, any relationship. And when we are talking about housing, what is more important that? With that, I have a second question, which is about we know Provident as a value-driven housing and customer-first approach. How has Provident stayed agile and future-ready in a competitive and evolving market? Could you also share how your people and culture have enabled that adaptability?
Sure. It's interesting because in a market that changes faster than our site teams can pour concrete, agility is no longer optional. It is survival. It is absolutely required. And personally, I think what keeps us steady at Provident is the kind of people that we have here. Now we have this very real culture, Avik, of actually rolling up our sleeves and trying to figure out what's happening. In fact, I remember during one of my first site visits at one of our sites, which is Ecopolitan, I'd gone there and somebody was talking about key, this is at this area. There could be water challenges. And I came back and I was discussing this with the management. And the first thing the management talked about is how do we look at it solving long term? It's not about just selling a home, it's not about just selling a house. It's about how do we solve long term problems. So at Provident, we have this culture where we really want to stay ridiculously close to the customer, no matter what is happening outside. So that means that whether it is adapting to our digital tools, tweaking how we sell, or even simply rethinking how we work, anybody and everybody who is at Provident is always pushing themselves beyond the boundaries and rethinking, is there a better way of doing it? Is there a smarter way of doing it? Is there a faster way of doing it? I think innovation is something that is very deeply and closely embedded into our DNA. But honestly, there's a very open level of resilience as well as transparency, and that's quite inspiring in the kind of culture that we have been able to build here. There's no playbook for this market, but what helps is a team that stays curious, that stays grounded, and is willing to push boundaries, is willing to learn as the game evolves. And that I would say is our real superpower.
Wow. I mean, whenever we look at a housing, we just look at those brick mortars and cements. We see the finished product, but there is so much that goes beyond that. And so good to know the ethos of the company is to stay close to the customer. You're talking about sustainability, agility, these are typical things we hear about MNC and corporates, but I'm so glad to know that you are also driven by the same philosophies of customer experience. That's amazing. That's where my third question comes, and you have touched upon this in terms of using technology
Mm.
in your day-to-day work, because the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, and the buying decisions are changing. So how do you use technology? I want to go one step ahead and ask you that from project management to sales, customer support, technology is reshaping how real estate companies operate. How is Provident leveraging these tools like digital tools, insights, data to empower its people and
Mm.
enhance organizational efficiency? So, in short, while you may be using a lot of technology and data and insights in terms of your marketing and sales, I want to understand, as a custodian of HR, how are you using data insights, new tools, AI in making people decisions and making your people more effective in the organization?
Well, there's no denying it. I mean, technology is everywhere. Technology is all pervasive. It's omnipresent, omniscient, and omniscient, almost like God today, right? And real estate is no exception. From how we track project progress to how we talk about, or how we talk about getting closer to customers, it's everywhere. I mean, it's all getting faster, it's getting smarter, it's getting more connected. At Provident, we again, just like we are very intentional about the kind of people that we are hiring, we're very intentional about also the kind of technology we are adopting. We're not chasing every new tool that pops up into the market just because it's there. It doesn't make sense to just get it there. So we're very thoughtful about what really adds value. It's less about shiny dashboards. It's more about what it does. Like, does it help my team work better? Does it help us make decisions faster? Does it serve my customers in a more meaningful way? what does it actually help in? So when we are evaluating tools also, we are very conscious about, how those decisions are going to affect us long term. But what is really exciting is how our people have actually leaned into it, Avik. They just don't look at using tech, but shaping about how it is used. I mean, whether it is, automating a small thing or drawing insights from data, and we have access to some of the largest data records, like, we have access to a lot of data. So it's the ownership that the people display that drives impact. And a lot of it is, how our leaders think. A lot of it is how our managers think. I think that's something which permeates down. That's something which is about building culture. And obviously we are very heavily invested into upskilling and reskilling our employees, so obviously that also plays a major part. So yes, we are using digital, we are going digital, but more importantly, we are building a culture that's actually open to change. And I think that's where the magic begins.
Awesome. I love the way you said not just having dashboard, but what purpose it solves, right?
Yes, yes,
You also spoke about a very interesting that our leaders are thinking that what next,
yes.
what do we do from a people's perspective, and finally the
Absolutely.
culture piece is so important. And this is such nice to hear that how beyond the brick and mortar of your industry you are also trying to build a culture which is people driven. So
Absolutely.
with that comes my final question, that with rising urbanization, sustainability mandates, and a new generation of home buyers entering the market, what are you betting next? I'm not just talking about housing trends. I want to hear from you, what are the talent trends that you are seeing in the market? What are some of the capabilities that you see needed to build the neighborhoods of tomorrow?
Honestly, I think people are what we are actually betting on. People who can imagine differently, people who can think differently, people who can, uh, you know, actually go and look at how do we break barriers, how do we break boundaries. The market is shifting very, very fast, right? Like it's faster cities, greener mandates, more sustainability, home buyers who care as much about aesthetics as well as Wi-Fi, as well as Vastu, right? And that means we need talent that's curious, that's cross-functional, and yet deeply human, right? So whether it's someone in design thinking about community spaces, or probably in sales executive learning to speak the language of trust and transparency, I think what matters is the mindset. It's not just about, do I have the technical expertise? Do I have the right mindset? Agility, empathy, that willingness to learn, the willingness to unlearn, relearn, and learn. And at the end of the day, Avik, we're not just building homes. We're not just building houses, rather. We're building actual homes, homes that people will live in, homes that people will go into, homes that people will pass on as a legacy to probably their children or even grandchildren. So we are shaping experiences and, little ecosystems of belonging. So that takes more than capability. That takes more than just technical expertise. It takes heart. And that's what we are really investing in.
Wow. Wow. I'm so inspired hearing, because you know what, today we see almost every other company which were originally not in the real estate sector getting in the real estate sector,
Yes. Yes.
right? And I always wondered that how are the OGs creating that uniqueness? But this conversation says so much about how companies like Provident, which is originally the OG of a real estate in Bangalore, are so, or by far so ahead in terms of their thought process, in terms of what they want to do, and how you finished that it's just not homes or houses, it's an experience that you live and pass on to your next generation. So glad to have this conversation. Thank you so much, Pallavi. Thank you so much, the ETHR team, for facilitating this conversation. I'm sure this is going to help our viewers in terms of knowing how Provident is different and how they can take a leap from here to build their company culture and people policies. Thanks, Pallavi.
Lovely, lovely. The pleasure was all mine, Avik. Thank you so much, Himanshi and ETHR team for organizing this. You're absolutely you're right when you say, Avik, that organizations are changing, cultures are fast shifting, and as custodians of this culture in the HR space, I think it's important that we also start looking forward to not only looking at what the organizations demand, but how the talent is also changing and kind of creating that sweet spot in between. I think that's the core responsibility of HR right now. And I mean, if you're looking for a career at Provident, if you're looking for a career at Purvankara, we are looking for hiring people, but of course, people who think differently, people who are ready to push boundaries. So yes, I'm all excited. I'm all excited to, ensure that this goes far ahead. So thank you so much for this conversation. Truly a delight.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for wrapping it up so beautifully. You know, this, as I was listening, I was sitting here throughout the conversation, felt like a masterclass into how the real estate sector is sort of not just building homes, it is building human capital. And what stood out to me was, that talent today isn't just about filling roles, it is about sort of mapping the skills to vision.
True.
And as you said, agility isn't optional, it is survival. It is built
True.
into culture and it shows in how teams respond to disruption. And finally, we spoke a bit about tech. Tech is not only about shiny dashboards, as you said, and also it isn't replacing people, it is unlocking their potential. Right. So, Pallavi and Avik, thank you for the insights, the energy. These are exactly the conversations that I believe move the needle, right? So, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation and to our audiences. For more such conversations, stay tuned to Talent in Talks, where the talent mindset meets real world leadership. Thanks for watching. I'm Imanshi Tiwari from the Economic Times, and we'll see you next time.